What's up guys, Rakowski here. Welcome back to my channel where I insult EA and then try to one-up them. Today is actually the latter. I haven't done too many speed builds lately. I used to do a lot of speed builds when I used to cover The Sims 4, but that game sucks and I got bored with it. So I've been playing The Sims 2 and 3, which means the game is so much more fun, but the building is so tedious. So I'm just so used to the conveniences of The Sims 4. It has the best build mode for sure, but in terms of a game, I much prefer the older games, but I still love building, so I decided to make an apartment building. I needed something for my single Sims to move into once they hit adulthood and they didn't have enough money for a house. I used that mod, the no 20k handouts mod in The Sims 2. So with that, you don't have enough money to just buy a starter house. You only have kind of a few thousand, whatever your family has saved up, you just get like a small percentage of that. Actually, this apartment is not super affordable. They range from, I think, like 800 to like 2,000 a month. I built two one-bedroom apartments, two bachelor apartments, and the top floor is like a penthouse. So that's like the expensive one. I went for this like modern style. The shape is really basic, but I used some of these funky windows. You can see I'm actually using the triangles. I've never successfully used these in a build that wasn't like, you know, a for fun taking the piss build, but I think they work real. I shouldn't say they work really well. If I was critiquing this house and it was by EA, I would be like, those windows are ugly, why would you choose them? But The Sims 2's aesthetic is a little bit whimsical, not as whimsical as The Sims 1, but it still has, you know, an element of fun ugly that I do love exploring. And I think that just overall, these basic blue windows are way better than the ones you get from City Living in The Sims 4. Those ones are just too blue. These ones are just translucent enough where you can still see through them, but it still has a hint of color. Speaking of color, I wanted to break it up a little bit. So you can see I tried to do some black and white stuff going on here, and it didn't really work. I knew I needed something else for the corners, and you'll see in a bit, I do end up adding something to the outside there. But I did add a little bit of black because I thought the white was just too white. I wanted to just do white because I was very impressed by a Sims 3 build in the last episode of my build judging series, and I really enjoyed how they just used white and wood. So I wanted to replicate that a bit, but it wasn't really working. It needed a little bit more to break it up. So I will say now that I did pretty much cut out the entire floor plan because that took me longer than anything else. It took me longer than the landscaping, longer than the shell. It just wasn't working. And now this was my main problem. The house was actually an odd number of tiles long and wide. So if it's an odd number, you can't just draw a line straight down the middle. And I like everything to be perfect and balanced. You know me, if you ever see me critique a build, like I'm looking for that. And of course I made the shell impossible to do that. So I decided that, so basically there's three floors that actually have apartments. It's a 4-floor building. The first floor is just a lobby and a gym. So the second floor is one bachelor on one side and then a 1-bedroom that's a little bit bigger. And I did the same thing for the third floor. So each floor has like 2 different style apartments, but the 2 floors themselves are identical. And like I said, the top floor is a penthouse and that's like its own thing. I decided to go for this just like minimalist aesthetic. I was gonna do each apartment like a different color and like funky, but I figure that they can do that when they move in. I don't know which Sims I'm gonna have living here exactly. It all depends on what happens, who gets married, who gets rich, you know, all that stuff. So I kind of went with just this black and white and then this like wood aesthetic, so I wasn't planning on using this wooden floor. I was actually going to use a different wooden floor. I didn't know which one, but I just used this as a placeholder. And when I got into the build mode and I started looking through, I realized I'm like, this is actually the best wood as to what I'm going for. And it might possibly because I already had it down. So I made choices with like the counters and the fridge and the bathrooms to kind of go with that. And once I started changing it to like darker woods, I knew I wanted a lighter wood, but this was exactly the shade that I wanted. So I kept it. And I almost forgot to do some lighting. So you seen like just previously, I was doing a lot of lights for the outside. That all stemmed from when I decided to just do a kitchen light. I wanted one kitchen light and then my mind went, go to the outside, make sure there's like 20 lights on the outside so you can see the building at night. So I got distracted for a bit, but now I'm back in the build actually doing the lights. I just do like a simple wall light for bathrooms, especially in The Sims 4. I guess my habits are just carrying on, but it really matters where you place the lights. And in The Sims 4, when you just use those like saucer lights in the middle of every single room, it just becomes really flat, and it's so much more dynamic when you have different sources of light. It doesn't work as well in the older games. Maybe The Sims 3 without the lighting mod it'll be better, but I just decided to kind of break it up a little bit. I don't like having the same lights everywhere, but I did keep it very consistent throughout the building. So we can see here, I'm trying to pick the tiles, and I wanted to keep the same tiles throughout the building. I didn't want any of them to have any individualism, because when you move into like a cookie cutter condo like this, it's just this white, boring mess, and that's kind of what I was going for here. I was deciding on like a beige tile. You can see me, I'm trying to change around the wood. It wasn't really working either, but I decided to, again, I went with the marble kind of tile that I had in the lobby, and I used that for the kitchens and bathrooms, because that's also realistic when you have like, you know, an actual building being built. It's cheaper to buy in bulk a bunch of one type of tile. You're not gonna buy a small bit of all these different types of tiles. Maybe for the penthouse or the lobby you'd have it different, but for the most part, like the whole building's gonna have the same crap. So I decided to do that. Even though it's a condo, they're not like purchasable by Sims. They're just gonna be renting them out. A lot of people rent out condos anyway, just like renting from the owner. I think that's very popular. I'm from Toronto. I don't live there anymore, but that's kind of like where my mind was going with this. I was picturing something kind of like Spadina and Queen Street, new development, kind of overpriced, stupid condo. That was kind of what I was going for. And I decided to name it the Landgraab condos, because that's who would make something like this, something designed to just be a cash cow with like no artistic expression. There's a little bit. I think I did really well in capturing what I was going for while making it not ugly. It's a little ugly, I will admit, especially from the outside. I think the inside is like perfectly fine, boring apartment style, but the outside is a little bit noisy, a little bit bold. And if you do know my build style, I do kind of go a little bit too far sometimes. And that's kind of what I'm guilty of. What really drives me crazy is when things don't give me enough. If I see a build that's just too boring, too basic, and too nothing, that's what bothers me. Actually, green bathrooms bother me more. But other than that, I think most creative choices I can kind of forgive, even if they don't go the way that I would like, just because there is a little bit of thought and a little bit of expression. So that's why I wanted to go a little bit noisy with the outside. I knew the inside was going to be boring and basic. And again, I don't normally put this much effort into something I'm just planning on playing in. That's how this started. Like, I'm making my own world, so I decided to make like an apartment building to go with it. I didn't want to use any of the EA builds for a couple reasons, because I know they have lots in like the houses bin area or whatever. Number one, I do want to do a video where I review those, and I have never used those. I've always been a builder. Even when I was a kid and my builds were ugly as crap, I loved building, so I always built my own houses for my Sims or renovated the house that they already lived in. So all of those are completely foreign to me, and I've probably played The Sims 2 more than any other Sims game, so it's rare for me to have something that I haven't really seen before. That's also why I've really enjoyed doing the Prima Guide Let's Play as well, because then I'm going through and kind of following the rules instead of doing the same stupid stuff that I always do. So the landscaping, I know it's in a desert, but I made it like super green. So kind of the story of my town is like, it's a little bit eco lifestyle backstory where like, basically they're making it look green, but at the expense of the environment. And there's this whole subplot going on. So I have that kind of going on in the back of my mind as I build everything for this one. But I didn't share any of my other builds. Number one, I didn't film them. Number two, they're not special enough. Like, when I build for building, that's when I do like my best stuff, and other people like to play in them. But for my actual gameplay houses, like, I'm like rectangle, trailer, plain siding, like TV, stove, bed, done. Like I just want the stuff that I need to kind of move forward. But I do love playing in other people's houses. But in The Sims 2, I've always been terrified to corrupt my neighborhood by putting in like houses that other people have built. So I'm not 100% sure how to properly share these. So I may look into it if someone's interested in downloading this. It's fully functional. I'm already using it. I'm really enjoying it. You might want to delete the trees. I think that's kind of like the ugliest choice that I made. But overall, I'm very proud of it, and I'm really happy that I got to share it because I haven't really been sharing builds lately. Ever since I stopped playing The Sims 4, I've just been focusing on The Sims 3 and 2. I've been playing the games, and since they're more fun, I kind of forget about videos sometimes. I'm just like playing The Sims 2 for a week. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the build and the video. If you did, give me a like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. Thank you so much. And don't forget to leave me a comment down below on what you'd like to see next. Boom.